I think that there's a huge misconception that if you come into Normanade and you tell us that you had been at a party over the weekend or that you had engaged in any substance misuse, that we're automatically going to call your parents and that's it, which is not the truth.
Hello, Normans. I'm Beverly Hills High School Wellness Counselor. We hope you enjoy Season 3, Episode 2, Celebrating Life Safely, featuring one of our very own Maple counselors, Stephanie Rosenberg, and hosts Nyla and Remy. Stephanie worked at a treatment center, and she will discuss the meaning of natural highs, share tools for celebrating safely and responsibly, and practicing healthy coping skills for managing stress.
Please tell us about yourself and a little bit about the work that you do.
So before working with Normanade and the Maple Counseling Center, I worked in the treatment industry with mental health, substance abuse, eating disorders with young adults up until later adulthood. What inspired my work was I was always fascinated with the brain. I used to study the brain for fun when I was younger and would just want to take apart the brain and memorize the different parts, the amygdala, all of these things that I just found fascinating. And then throughout my own therapeutic process as well, I realized that not only am I interested in other people and the way they think and behave, but I also want to help people because that's always something that I've done naturally. So I just combined the two together and now I'm here.
This month is Normanade's Substance Misuse Month. Can you share with us your experiences working with substance misuse and what helped your clients in their journey to be sober?
Yeah, for sure. So substance misuse is a really tricky problem, especially right now, the world that we're living in. Substances are just so dangerous compared to what they even were in the past, right? Nothing is what it is. And so a lot of the work that I did with my clients was questioning why. That's like the big question for me is like, why are we using? And then through that, all of my clients were in some sort of therapy or counseling themselves, and that was extremely helpful. I think that was the core to a lot of substance misuse. So therapy was huge for them. There are also different programs like Smart Recovery, mindfulness and meditation, breath work, all of these things, and just building community in general. To have people around you who are like-minded and who are on the same path as you was extremely helpful for my clients, and just building relationships so that they have support. So, yeah.
Okay, and this week is National Red Ribbon Week, and the theme is Celebrate Life. What advice can you give us to celebrate safety at parties?
So the safest way to party is just to not drink or use at all, right? And there's so many ways that we can say no, whether it's, I just don't want to, flat out, and using your voice with your friends and not being afraid to say no, first of all. Second of all, there's so many other ways that we can go about explaining this to people, or there are other things like maybe this ran in your family, some kind of substance misuse ran in your family, right? And saying that, I don't feel comfortable because of the history that's with my family. Or it can just be the simplest thing of I just don't want to, or I'm afraid, this is not right for me, and I don't want to. And it's okay to say no. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing. It doesn't make you cool. It doesn't make you better than anyone. The best thing that you can do for yourself is take care of yourself at the end of the day. So I think that it's taking those precautions and making a decision for yourself and not based off of what everyone else is doing around you. My first thing is never drink and drive. Absolutely not. It will never work, ever. And you're not only putting yourself at risk, but you're putting somebody else's life at risk. So that's my main thing. In regards to staying safe at parties, I think it's, first of all, if you are going to be using smart. And that's, if you're going to be drinking, please eat before you drink, right? These basic things that we don't think about sometimes when we're caught in the moment. These things need plan and preparation before we just throw ourselves into this environment. So I think being prepared, being educated, and if you are friends with people who do engage in substance use, being extremely careful, even if you're that friend that isn't engaging in that. Having fentanyl test strips, having a Narcan on you, all of these things can save so many people's lives, and it's not that we recommend that, because we don't recommend any kind of substance use, especially with adolescents, and just with anyone in general. But if you are, there's so many different procedures that you can go about in order to do this safely. So how do you celebrate safely, and what advice would you give your peers for managing peer pressure?
So for me, if I'm ever hanging out with friends and if they're ever engaging in activities that I don't want to partake in, I don't necessarily have a problem with just saying no, that I'm not interested, or sometimes I can even just walk away. If they're engaging in activities that I don't want to be a part of, I have no problem just going home or hanging out with some other friends or doing a different activity. So some advice I would give to my peers that are looking for ways to kind of say no to these pressures, for me, sometimes I might say that I have family history, like how you were mentioning, and I don't want to be involved in that. I would also say that I have a commitment the next day. Maybe I have to see grandparents and I don't want to partake. And also sometimes I would just say I don't want to do it. Just be flat out honest and be like, this is your decision and you can do whatever you want. I'm not going to control that, but I don't want this to influence me.
So the dangers of drug use has increased over the past years, and teens have passed away from fentanyl poisoning. Is there anything that you can tell us about fentanyl and fake pills?
Yeah, so unfortunately, there is no real drugs anymore. It's not what it used to be. Fentanyl is being cut in everything right now. It's a cheap substance. That is just being able to be added in everything because it's extremely potent. And it's ranging from everything. It's not just opiates that fentanyl is being cut with. It's Xanax, it's cocaine, it's everything right now. And I'm not here to say don't do drugs. I'm not the DARE program. This is reality, unfortunately, that we're living in right now. You have to be so careful, and nothing really is what it seems to be. So there needs to be serious precaution around any kind of substance use whatsoever, and it only takes 2 grains of salt to actually kill a person. So it's the tiniest amount of fentanyl will instantly kill a person. There's no turning back from there. It's not like other substances where overdose can happen and you can still revive the person. With fentanyl, it's almost an instant death. So it really needs to be taken into consideration. With fentanyl too, you can revive somebody with Narcan, right? And Narcan is something that I believe almost every person should hold on them at all times, because this is just how rampant addiction has become, especially if you're going to be out at parties with friends. There's no harm in just having Narcan in your back pocket, because it can save somebody's life that night. And Narcan can revive from fentanyl. It is just extremely dangerous, but the process of using Narcan is not dangerous at all. If I were to use Narcan right now, nothing would happen to me, right? It doesn't cause any damage. It can only help somebody. So that's why I always recommend, if you are around people who are at parties, or if you're going to be at parties, to just have it in your back pocket. It's never going to do any danger. It could only just save somebody's life that night. And if you are engaging in substance use, which I obviously don't recommend, if you are, to be using fentanyl test strips while you are engaging in that activity, because like I said, it's just, there is nothing that's pure anymore. So we just have to be really, really careful.
Our motto for this month is "What's your natural high?" Can you share with us what your natural high is and what it really means to you?
Yeah, for sure. So to me, a natural high is a sensation of pleasure that we get in the body that's it can't be replicated by any other feeling. And to me, my natural high is just connecting with people. Forming human connection and making new relationships always gives me a natural high. My work with my clients always gives me a natural high. Also through sports, I love playing soccer. I play lacrosse too. And just by getting out and exercising and feeling a part of the world gives me a natural high, and being present. Can you tell me what your natural high is, Remy?
Maybe something that fulfills me, but is like also fulfilling someone else. Like maybe, I don't know, buying food for a homeless person, something like that. Or like I work with kids and I love it. So like tutoring or something like that, just something that's making someone else happy, but also me.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I think the main thing that I just want to share with all students is to never be afraid to come up to Norm and Aid. There's always a counselor up here that's happy and willing to talk. And when it comes to substance use, I think that there's a huge misconception that if you come into Norm and Aid and you tell us that you had been at a party over the weekend or that you had engaged in any substance misuse, that we're automatically going to call your parents and that's it, which is not the truth. Our job as counselors is to protect the confidentiality of the client unless they are at an immediate risk of danger to themselves or somebody else. So there are levels to this, right? If you come in to Norm and Aid and tell us that you were at a party over the weekend, we're not going to call your parents, right? If you come in to Norm and Aid high, then unfortunately we have to do something about it, right? But our whole model is not to ever get anybody in trouble. What we like to do is if there is any substance misuse that we feel is becoming problematic, we want to guide the client through that and be a support to them. And if that means that we do have to talk to parents at some point, we want to help them make that decision for themselves, and we also want to be a support and create a team around them. So there should be no fear in coming to Norm and Aid about any kind of substance use. We're not here to get you in trouble. We're just here to help.
We would like to thank our generous sponsors and partners, Michael J. LeBeau, BHHS PTSA, Norm and Aid Peer Counselors, KBEV, and of course, we would like to thank our listeners. Stay safe and make today well lived.